They sure got bark. Problem is, they ain't got bite.
Are you worried about them?
Aren't you? You saw them get their butts kicked into the next item just a few days ago.
I did, but failure is the mother of success. I readjusted my gauntlet and shifted my sword on my back. This is a chance for them to grow. I'll make sure of it. Vern and I left Seed Hollow and turned off the road, beating a straight path to the goblins' encampment through trees and underbrush. We arrived before the soldiers. In front of us, half hidden in the darkness of a cave, slinked the forms of dozens of goblins. Alone, goblins are not much of a threat. When they're allowed to form hordes,
Oh, I know all about those smart little suckers. They can plot stuff and coordinate and everything.
I smiled. Vern was as much of a veteran as I was.
So earlier, you sounded like you were gonna help these soldiers out. What exactly have you got planned?
As you know, all monsters are different and must be dealt with in different ways. We shall teach these tactics to the soldiers, but from the shadows. Plan rehearsed, Vern and I crept from the shade of the trees and into the mouth of the cave.
Come. We must be off.
We've got to break their formations. First, let's go for a frontal assault on the sentries.
The army from Seed Hollow will be here any minute now! Hurry!
Don't worry. We won't even need a minute.
We made it! Looks like the soldiers are still prepping for the fight.
Perfect. That gives us just enough time to thin down their main ranks.
More gobbles! Man, there's a lot of them!
Well, let's fix that, shall we? I can't believe they had so large a force. It's a good thing we came.
Be gone! Take heart!
Reinforcements!
Right.
You got this, Siegfried!
You're no fun!
Hitting our head! Like one of these!
Enough, push through!
Nice work! I think the soldiers can pick off what's left.
I think there are a few more goblins hidden, but likely not enough to reverse the tide. We had still better conduct a search, just to be safe. Let's go in deeper.
Look! It's a goblin soldier! And what are those? It's little sidekicks?
I don't think Seed Hollow's forces will be able to handle this. We should at least bring down the goblin soldier.
So leave all the small fry alone? Got it. Don't want to rob Seed Hollow's finest of a job. Let's try to hit you from far away.
Fist in power! I must still fight!
Siegfried, just a goblin soldier, remember?
Ready? Our mission awaits.
We've got to break their formations. First, let's go for a frontal assault on the sentries.
The army from Seed Hollow will be here any minute now! Hurry!
Don't worry. We won't even need a minute.
We made it!
That gives us just enough time to thin down their main ranks.
More gobbles! Man, there's a lot of them!
Well, let's fix that, shall we?
Turn the tide!
More!
I can't believe they had so large a force. It's a good thing we came.
Meet your doom!
Reinforcements! You got this, Siegfried!
Push through!
Might want to heal.
Can't retreat. Not now. Surrender!
Nice work! I think the soldiers can pick off what's left.
I think there are a few more goblins hidden, but likely not enough to reverse the tide. We had still better conduct a search, just to be safe. Let's go in deeper.
Look! It's a goblin soldier! And what are those? It's little sidekicks?
I don't think Seed Hollow's forces will be able to handle this. We should at least bring down the goblin soldier.
So leave all the small fry alone? Got it. Don't want to rob Seed Hollow's finest of a job. Rage badly for the work!
Push through! Ready! You're finished! By my blade ended now!
Watch out for the shooters! Lightning! Okay? Grill of war out, pal!
This is power! Too close!
Well, I think we're done here. The army from Seed Hollow should be capable of handling the rest.
All right, let's head deeper in. Stay together and stay focused.
Aw, snap! Seems like they caught up. Let's hide!
Holy Bahamut! We did it!
The day is ours. Good work, troops.
Vern and I crouched behind a craggy boulder and watched as the soldiers strode about the battlefield. Not a goblin was left. The voices of the triumphant rose up and resonated about the high, cool walls of the cavern. All went well.
I guess, but those soldiers took a heck of a beating.
Vern perched himself on top of the boulder, head cocked to one side. They will continue to grow. They have experience now, and what's more, confidence. They will learn to keep their wits about them in battle, to observe the enemy and strategize.
If you're sure, there's something I've been wondering about though, Siegfried. You didn't have to help these people. You're not even getting paid for this. So why go through the trouble?
I laughed softly. I think you already know the answer to that riddle. Because everything good in this world is worth protecting.
Yes, can I help you?
Three days after the victory in the caves, Vern rushed into my cabin.
Dude, he's here! The captain of Seed Hollow's army is here!
Here, on the Grand Cipher. My eyebrows drew themselves together. I was quite certain we hadn't been seen.
Do you think he figured us out?
No, that shouldn't be possible. I had lived and worked in the shadows for many years. I knew how to remain invisible. Let us meet him in any case. It would be discourteous to turn him away.
Agreed! We're lots of things, but rude ain't one of them.
Vern led me to a spacious room on the Grand Cipher, where our guest sat perched on the edge of a comfortable chair, his hands upon his knees. He stood up quickly when we entered.
It's, been a while.
He wouldn't quite meet my eyes. As the young man swallowed rather loudly, I recalled his last words to me. We can handle monsters without you swinging in to save the day. It has. I still regret my actions in the forest. Is that what you've come to talk about?
No,
He shook his head vigorously.
I'm here to thank you. You saved my life and the lives of my comrades.
So, our presence had been noticed. I swept my cloak back in a deep bow. I apologize for interfering yet again.
Oh, no, please, stop with the apologies. You're just making me feel worse. Listen.
He explained. 3 days ago, Seed Hollow's army had been called upon to drive back a horde of goblins. He had marched his company there with a heavy heart, expecting great losses. But to his surprise, when they emerged from the goblin den, they were not missing even a single soldier.
Goblins are intelligent. They post sentinels and form ranks, just like we do. Sword fighters and shield bearers in front, mages in back. Any battle with them should have been tough and bloody.
Yet these goblins had no set sentries, and their forces were meager and scattered. Even the large beasts the goblins kept in reserve had been terribly weakened by the time Seed Hollow's forces reached it.
But what could have worn it out like that? A night of partying too hard? No. Someone had to have helped us, and luckily, I had an inkling who.
Now he raised his round, earnest face and looked straight at me.
There was this knight who'd saved my troops before. He wore jet black armor and carried a crimson sword.
Yeah, no way you'd forget that getup after seeing it once.
Vern peered down at my armor. It was matte black, so I could slip by in the night unseen. But I suppose outlined against the light of the sun, it cut quite a distinctive figure.
The rest really wasn't that difficult. Went with that description to a merchant who deals with a lot of foreign traffic, and learned about a former knight captain.
I see. Years away from the battlefield had dulled the army's swords. This I already knew. But now I realize it had allowed them to build rapport with their people, winning them trusted eyes and ears throughout their country.
If anyone should be apologizing, it's me.
Before I could stop him, he went down on one knee.
That day in the forest, I was frustrated and ashamed by the weakness of my troops. So I took it out on you. I'm sorry. You saved my soldiers not only once, but twice. And the second time around, you even made sure we learned from the experience. I really don't know how to make it up to you.
Vern and I looked at each other, surprised by the sincerity in his voice. Your kind words are more than enough, and your forgiveness. The young man opened his mouth, but I shook my head. Whatever the circumstances, I still trampled your pride underfoot.
What's pride when compared to life?
To speak the truth, I thought Seed Hollow's forces poorly trained and disorganized, from an outsider's perspective at least. By placing a hand beneath the man's elbow, I silently bid him rise. But I see now that you have strength and wisdom that was hidden to me. With you in command, I have no doubt your company will go on to accomplish great things.
That means a lot, coming from you.
He smiled, the tension melting from his frame.
But the fact remains that I let my soldiers get out of practice. You've helped me realize a lot these past few days, and I promise we'll train harder than ever, make up for lost time, and become the defenders this country deserves.
Good. Never stop believing in yourselves. Seed Hollow. A land of gardeners who derive joy from the bounty of flora and the simplicity of peace. Though they were no longer the mightiest of warriors, they were by no means weak. No more than the wildflower, who holds aloft its petals in dry soil and through battering storms. And like wildflowers, they would continue to grow and flourish. Though Seed Hollow is a small country now, perhaps in time, it will rise to become a mighty nation. When that day comes, it surely will make a valuable ally for Fiendrock.
Hey, is it just me, or have we been getting less monster hunting missions recently?
We, as all Skyfarers, were used to shouldering the quests of greatest peril, as we've seen more combat than most standing armies. However, though Zega Grande was as plagued by monsters as ever, we'd had a quiet few days.
I think I can explain.
Lyria raised her hand, eager to impart valuable intelligence.
Apparently, Seed Hollow's soldiers have been super on top of things lately. A monster appears, and before the Crew Alliance can even draft up a mission, they get in there and solve the problem.
Good for them, but less work for us means less jingle in our pockets.
Vern drifted to me from across the room, and positioning his snout by my ear, spoke in a whisper.
Guess they really got their act together, huh?
It would certainly seem so. I looked up at my small comrade in training. We exchanged a secret smile. Well done, troops. Well done.
I opened my eyes and found the most entrancing face staring back at me. Clear skin, dewy eyes, and mischievous smile, all framed by soft golden locks. Involuntarily, my hand crept toward her cheek for a caress. But when flesh met mirror, I finally woke up and realized.
Yes. Good morning, me. Must still be hazy from exchanging bodies yesterday. Lacing my fingers together, I reached my arms up for a test stretch. Stiff. Not one to be bested by a vessel of my own design, I brought my palms together and began twisting. Take that, you stupid spine, I thought. You will rue the day you defied me. Just how many backbones and digits and faces had I conjured? I'd lived long enough to know it was foolish to try and keep track.
Cagliostro, did you hear? We're going to visit a new Skydom!
Lyria's voice echoed from behind the door, snapping me back to the present.
Sounds fun! I'll be out in a jiffy!
My voice was a weaponized rainbow, strategically pitched to invoke thoughts of hugs and sunshine. As the cutest girl in all the skies, no other tone would live up to my utter perfection. You see, it's a common myth that cuteness is in the eye of the beholder. But actually, as I have witnessed through my research, it is a fundamental law of reality. I quickly brushed my disheveled hair, minus one lock, as per the theory of adorable bedhead optimization, and went to the door. The crew would need me at my cutest if they were to survive an untrodden Skydom. About 2,000 years ago, before the war, I was a wretched, sickly little thing. We lived in a village with no doctor, so all I could do was wait for the release of death. I still remember the defeated look on my sister's face as she attended my bedside. I couldn't blame her. Not when she was surrounded by the other villagers and their whispers. None of them thought I was long for this world. But back in those days, the sky was full of children who would never live past adolescence. So my life was tragic, but common. With the exception, of course, of one detail. My intellect. I had been working on a theory of reality, one that would let me rewrite the laws of existence. I dubbed it alchemy. I was too weak to leave the house, but my sister would fetch me the necessary reagents for my experiments. At first, each failure was more spectacular than the last. Creating a fully functional body from nothing but dirt and speculation was complicated. Instead, I focused on creating an ageless vessel capable of housing a soul. Hypothesis, test, fail. Hypothesis, test, fail. My pile of discarded monstrosities grew with each unsuccessful trial. But finally, I succeeded in producing a small life form, no bigger than your average roach. Sure, a misplaced footstep would have killed the damn thing, but it was life nonetheless. And it was proof that I could achieve mastery over my own mortality. Now that I had more data, all it took was a few more months of testing, and voila! I had synthesized a flesh bag for myself. My soul was finally free to occupy a worthy form. Now, repeat this process a few thousand times, and my reputation spread throughout the skies, garnering love and admiration from the masses. Alchemy was at its apex, and death had been conquered for all. Yeah, right. More followers meant more opportunity for betrayal. Eventually, a faction of alchemists turned my own bloodline against me, and they managed to seal me away for centuries. Assholes. These magic prison stories always end the same way. A few hundred years of slumber, and people grow complacent. A group of clueless travelers, aka the crew of the Grand Cipher, managed to stumble upon my inert form and, foolishly mistaking me for a primal beast or something, lifted the seal. Immediately, I wanted to eradicate them. No one could find out I had regained my freedom. I would not suffer entombment again, even if it meant I needed to transmogrify a few Skyfarers. But then, I laid eyes upon Lyria and her blue hair, and there it was, an entity that I could not identify. I, who had unveiled the very laws of reality, could not classify her existence. She was surely from a different plane. My interest was piqued, and for that, I spared the crew. What can I say? Curiosity killed the alchemist. With no particular agenda for my newfound liberty, I offered my services to these Skyfarers. They would give me unfettered access to the girl, and I would give them unrestricted access to my findings. And as a bonus, I might save their asses a few times along the way. Of course, the captain readily accepted. Though I admit, there was something about the gleam in the captain's eye that caught my attention. What was so special, you ask?
That's for Cagliostro to know and for you to find out.
On a typical humdrum day, I was browsing Sierra Carte's wares for a few chemical essentials. Impressive how the world had become a network of convenience. What were previously rare and unobtainable items were now collecting dust on a tradewoman's shelves. My eyes traced the rows of flasks and potions before they settled on a vial clutched by the man standing next to me. Oh, toxin. An excellent choice. Save for the fact that his confused and brooding expression revealed he didn't quite understand what he was holding. Who was this moron? Well, now that I was aware of the potential hazard, I couldn't leave well enough alone. Traveling with the crew had certainly rubbed off on me.
Excuse me, mister? That looks scary. What you gonna do with it?
He looked stunned, an appropriate reaction, given my stunning countenance.
What? This? It's pigment. Needed for painting supplies.
Oh, I didn't take you for a painter, mister.
Pigments were frequently composed of toxic earth metals. Perhaps I worried over nothing.
It's not for me. My little sister's the artistic one.
Huh? His entire mood shifted, tense shoulders relaxing and lips curving into a soft grin. It was nothing like a few seconds ago, when he seemed to be studying the pigment like his life depended on it. Perhaps he was a few rupees short. No, mental calculus doesn't translate to confusion. His look was more concerned? No. I'd seen that exact expression before.
So what color picture will she paint? Cagliostro sure wants to see the final product. Aw, pretty please.
This is coming out of nowhere.
What the hell? Did I not give him the world's cutest plea? How dare he refuse me? He will suffer for...
But I guess it's okay. I actually have some free time now, if you're eager.
There. That was more like it. Lyria, the captain, and I followed the man to his studio, listening to him jabber about his life along the way. His name was Heimel, and he had been living alone with his sister, Shanae, ever since their parents died when they were younger. Their life was simple, he explained. But a simple life was a luxury for some.
Wait till you see! Shnae's paintings are breathtaking, and I'm not just saying that. The world needs her talent.
He was alight with passion. A stupid smile plastered across his face. True pride in his sister's craft. As for me, art was too abstract. How would one tame the subjective, bring order to chaos? There was too much I couldn't comprehend. But was it not aesthetics that led me to understand and codify the deep mysteries of cuteness? Yes. Perhaps there was something I could learn from a craft as humble as painting. And thus, with the future of alchemy on my dainty shoulders, I pushed open the door to the studio. We entered to find Shanae violently tossing in bed. Heimel rushed over, grabbing a phial of healing tincture from her bedside. Hand supporting her shaking head, he poured the concoction into her mouth. Immediately, her convulsions lessened, but her breathing was still labored. It became clear why he was so antsy back at Sierra's store. Toxic pigments could be dangerous in even the most steady of hands, and, well, I glanced down at Shanae's fingers trembling on her bedsheets. Pressing forward, I gave her a cursory examination. Normally, I don't afford peons the luxury of my intellectual evaluation, but I was feeling generous. These symptoms are grave.
Do you know what's the matter?
Lyria's voice quivered with worry. I do. I've seen this exact disease once upon a time. Heimel's eyes shot to me, propelled more by hope than surprise.
Truly? The local doctors have been useless. They just give her pain relievers and leave. Can you do something?
As much as I wanted to refuse, in that moment, Heimel's desperation reminded me too much of my own sister. I'm not a medical professional. Sure, I know a formula that might ease her symptoms, but it's not a permanent solution. Not to mention the biggest pain in the ass, tracking down all the components.
Please, you're all we've got.
Ugh, begging. Now, the deal was sealed. And it had nothing to do with Lyria, Vern, and Captain Goody Two-Shoes staring holes into the back of my head. Fine. The world's cutest genius alchemist Cagliostro is on the case. Consider yourself lucky. We left the studio and hurried back to the airship. In this skydom, I could think of only one environment that would produce the necessary reagents. Mount Nagelith. Perfect. The component should be somewhere around here.
We need reagents attuned to water. Let's sweep the area.
Roger that. My eyes are wide open.
Just a simple thanks will do.
You're a mean water spirit. Why don't you play nice? All we have to do is collect this stuff, right?
Yep. But we'll need more than that.
Ah! An ambush! No more ouchies! Let's roll! Huh? Are those spirits protecting it? Either way, looks like we'll have to go through them. Get here! Let's roll!
Pushing through you.
Seems our sweep wasn't thorough enough. We better check any spots we might have. This one's suspiciously large. Let's smash it and see what it's hiding. We have enough mineral components. Next up, we'll need crystallized cygoteers.
Zyga? Those flapping eyeball creatures? I think I saw some further up ahead. Let's roll. That's time. Huh?
Bingo! Pardon our intrusion.
Janae's counting on us. Let's do it. Let's roll.
Call it justice.
Oh, yes! Bring your fears to us!
Of course, of course. What did you expect? I'll do it. Less cheering, more fighting.
So, did we get the tears?
Of course we did. I even had time to distill them.
Tell me, who's the best?
We'll repay you someday.
The moment the potion reached Shanae's stomach, wariness melted from her frame. That medicine will only temporarily stop your symptoms. They'll be back if you don't treat the root of the problem.
Still, peace is priceless, no matter how brief.
Shanae was not the only one feeling more relaxed. With tensions eased, I decided it was time to explain Shanae's condition, Lycerian fever syndrome. It was an autoimmune disorder of the nervous system, caused by irregularities in the body's ley line structure. Common side effects included reduced function of the lower extremities and unrelenting fevers. Development occurred in the embryonic stage, a defense against the mother's own ley line system, interpreting the fetus as a foreign object. Of course, the prescribed painkillers and fever reducers had not been effective. They could not treat what was essentially a natural function of Shanae's body.
But the formula you made for us, it suppressed her symptoms, didn't it?
Sure, but suppression isn't treatment. And besides, there will be unfortunate side effects if she uses it over a long period of time. I'm just sorry I couldn't make you a true cure.
Please don't apologize. I feel like I've reclaimed a part of my life thanks to you.
Brave little thing. She had done nothing to earn her lot in life, but suffering claimed her all the same. Though the world was built upon fundamental truths, at times, I felt as if I understood nothing about it.
Come to view the requests?
It was a bright day when Vern, Lyria, the captain, and I went back to the studio. Shanae was staring out the window with a dazed smile. So the formula was still working. Good.
Crazy how you invited yourself to the studio to see my sister's paintings. And now you're her personal pharmacist. Serendipity's funny like that.
If you feel like repaying me, how about you finally cough up some art and show me around?
That's a fair price. Everything in the studio was painted by Shanae. Feel free to get close. Admire the details.
Previously, I had managed only a distracted glance at the studio's walls. But this time, I saw visual creativity exploding off them. I wasn't an expert on art, but even I felt the vibrant energy bounding from her drawings. Powerful, powerful pieces swirled around me like a hurricane. And one painting in particular, it was resonant. Sketches were littered about the floor, too. And even they were filled with vitality. How could such a feeble body muster such vivid work?
Oh yeah, about that pigment I bought when we met. Want to see it in action?
Taking the vial from a shelf, Heimel poured the pigment into a dish and mixed it with oil. A few swirls later, and the color had transformed in a way that was more chemistry than alchemy. Intriguing. Takes a specialty product to make that hue. Heimel smiled and handed the freshly prepared paint to Shanae, who was already mid-painting. A bead of sweat trailed down her brow as she swabbed the tint across her canvas.
I believe in Shanae's talent. Look at her. She's amazing. I just have to get the world to recognize it.
It's nice having a supportive sibling. I meant it.
I never know how to read your tone. But, well, her condition made me realize how precious our time together is.
Heimel, who clearly had never known abundance, smiled like the richest of merchants. Though Shanae had been left with a raw deal, it was clear her life wasn't without meaning. If only I could go back and tell my own sister, "You were my courage when I was weak. You were my light when I was in darkness. I have lived through eons, but you were my rock. I hoped these siblings, at least, would understand what they meant to one another. I even prayed a little. Which was dumb, considering this Skydom still thinks primal beasts are gods. Huh. Guess I'm getting sentimental in my old age. Lyria and Vern became a regular fixture at the studio. They said they wanted to be there when Shanae finished her latest piece. I felt much the same. Her pieces were charming, even while portraying the thin line between life and death. Rare to get drama like that outside of a novel. But my true reason for visiting was out of concern, not interest. She was battling an unpredictable disorder, so I wanted to be around should the worst come to pass.
Could you stick around for a few? I need to run out and buy a few things.
You dare waste my time with your foolish errands? Fine, but at least be quick about it. After Heimel left, Shanae waved me closer to her bed.
After all you've done, I don't want to sound ungrateful, but...
Her voice quivered. She was plainly troubled.
I don't know if I can say this. Wow. Okay, I want my brother to be free. I don't want to bind him any longer.
Tears began to gloss her eyes.
Without me holding him back, he could find someone and settle down. He has such a kind heart. He needs to share it. If I'm ruining his life, then I would rather not be in it at all. Please take...
I interrupted her. I don't condone this, and I doubt your brother would either. Oh boy. If there was ever a time to talk about my past, this was it. Look, I've been in your shoes. There was nothing the village doctors could do, and I was abandoned by damn near all the townsfolk. For the dying, hope was cheap. It was better to look inevitability in the face and maintain some of your dignity. But there was one person who stood beside me. My light. My rock. My sister. She was with me the entire time, keeping me warm in the shadow of death. And in turn, I gave her the comfort of company, not being alone in this world. I continued to detail memories of my sister, over 2,000 years old, hoping that Shanae would get the point. She hung on to every word. When I concluded my story, to my disappointment, Shanae seemed to pick up the wrong message.
How did you get better?
Simple. The curse of genius. I developed an entire school of magic and abandoned my wretched body. I couldn't suppress a proud grin. She nodded along, not quite understanding. I couldn't blame her. Few people had the opportunity to learn the glory of alchemy, especially in these far-flung Skydoms. Imagine your body is a jar and your soul is water. I created a fresher, cuter jar and poured my soul into it.
You can do that sort of thing?
Shanae cupped her mouth in surprise. Don't insult me. There's nothing I can't do. She grew silent as gears began to whir in her head. A few moments later, she stared at me with pleading eyes and spoke.
Could you do it for me?
Well, that was predictable. But I could relate to her predicament, and that alone made me want to help. If you really want to go through with this, I can make you a jug too. However, you should know. It wasn't going to be simple. A soul swap was messy on an experienced alchemist's psyche, much less a mundane girl's. Nor would I be around to perform maintenance down the line. It could very well be a fast track to the grave. And to inhabit an alchemized body was to stray from the natural order. She would forever be a false life form. Shanae had no knowledge of the arcane. She was struggling to grasp these factors. And what's worse, I didn't have the decades needed to explain the details. So I opted for a simpler route, and explained the side effects in more mortal terms. Even if your memories, knowledge, and personality make the jump, you will never feel the same. Your senses will feel foreign. Your fine motor skills will be dulled. In short, goodbye, art. Take, for example, the sky. We each paint it in our own way. One may clumsily blob some white on a blue background, while others might choose a deeper hue or express the clouds with more definite contours. Art is a negotiation between the artist's mind, eye, and hand. And if 2/3 of that equation were to change, then the artist might as well be a different person altogether. Even I, genius that I am, took centuries to adapt to this process. Finally, it means you won't be human. You'll have to maintain your body like a machine, and you'll never have children. Is any of this sinking in?
But
Shanae looked down at her hands, as if it were the first time she had ever seen them. It was never an easy decision. Even my sister begged me not to abandon my mortality, right until I made the hop into a new vessel. The silence was deafening. Shanae was considering her past, and what abandoning it would mean for her future. I observed her until I grew impatient. There's no reason you have to make up your mind now. As long as you found an answer before we sail out of the skydom, I can help you either way. Capiche? I turned to leave, causing the bedridden girl to lunge after me.
wait! I don't care about losing my art. If it will free Heimel to live his life, then my choice is clear.
Her tears were pierced by a genuine smile. She bore the pain of losing her creative soul and the joy of gaining a liberated brother. Even with my infinite understanding of the universe, I could not say which of those emotions was stronger. You sure you don't want to talk to him first? She shook her head. I felt a small pang of regret. I led her down this path because I, on some level, felt we were alike in our suffering. But the truth was, I had an, I won't say easier way out. The same solution applied to Shanae's problem would be far more complicated. If anything, I felt like I understood Heimel's position more. He would simply want what was best for his sister. Just like how my own sister had wanted what was best for me. After leaving the studio, I made a list of all the materials the procedure would require. It was going to be a pain in the homunculus to gather everything, so I enlisted the crew to help. I had my sights set on the Pillar of Vayoi. Due to the high concentration of arcane energy, the materials found there made for powerful alchemical reagents.
Wait till you see! Shanae's paintings are breathtaking, and I'm not just saying that. The world needs her talent.
Curse that proud face of yours, Heimel. Look what you've made me do.
Do-do-do-do-do-do! Charge! Cagliostro's coming for your cores, Mr. and Mrs. Spirit People!
And while I'm at it, I might pick up a few alchemical reagents in the process.
Let's go, gang!
Great. This won't help anyone.
Yay! This'll do the trick. Look at all those spirits! What do you call a group of them anyway? A herd? A flock?
I call them target practice. Now come on. You need dark and light cores.
Hoka! Let's finish off the enemies here first! Hooray! Finders keepers! Sounds like we're making good time. Ribbon tied. Spells ready. Components gathered. Hooray!
That's it for all of our elemental components. Now, if only we can track down an effigy.
Too late to run. Peekaboo! How's that feel? Ugh, Cagliostro knows everybody wants to cuddle up to her. You're icky.
Never enough!
That
Strike true!
lightning!
Right.
Bullseye, baby!
Sure.
Hey, what's with the sand?
Now, I need to blast you into alchemic dust.
I think I'm starting to feel sorry for the spirit.
Suck it up.
You can handle another,
Let's
Shirley.
roll.
away.
Great. Focus up, Leo. Did you see me? Did I do great or what?
Attack already.
It's the last one.
Excellent. Throw a few spirit guts in the old extractor, and we'll have prime crystals on our hands.
What now? Don't worry about it, Mr. Lizard. Wanna head back to town? What a toughie.
When we returned to the studio, Heimel was a flustered whirlwind.
Schnee told me everything. Please, we refuse to let you change her body.
We were shocked to hear his refusal. Well, Vern and Lyria were. I had been expecting it. I'd like to hear the reason from her mouth. She's the one suffering, after all. What right do you have to speak for her? He grimaced.
Schnee has dreamed of being a successful artist ever since she was small. Even after the fever started, she's put her entire soul into her art. And finally...
In his fervent voice, you could hear how long he'd been supporting his sister, praying for her success. And now, after years of hard work, she'd made it. She had recently been invited to participate in an exclusive exhibit, a privilege apparently afforded to very few.
Finally, Schnee will be recognized for her talent. If we throw away her chance now, what will that mean for her future? Or her legacy?
I wasn't sure whether he was gritting his teeth or his fists tighter.
Schnee's been waiting so long for this! Why add this darkness to her life now?
Because you deserve to live your life too, Heimel.
Brother and sister stood opposed, on opposite sides of their future.
I've never thought of you as a burden. I supported you because I love you. It's a blessing to watch you create.
No one doubted his words. More than anything, he wanted Shanae's efforts to bloom into something beautiful. He wanted her future years to remain bright. If her dreams were so close to coming true, he reasoned, then why abandon everything now? He had a point. But he'd never been in Shanae's position before. I had. And I knew what needed to happen this time.
Come to view the requests?
Shanae's attitude changed after hearing her brother's plea.
Cagliostro, forgive me. I was selfish, looking for a quick fix. But now, I know I should face this disease and live my life the way I meant to.
Figures. You needed time to process your options. Actually, that was the reason why I asked Heimel about his objections in front of Shanae. She needed to hear his part.
We're sorry for wasting your time. We know it wasn't easy to gather all those components for a new body.
New body? Doesn't ring a bell.
But you said you would give Shanae a new vessel.
Right into my trap. I reached into my pocket and pulled out a bottle of pills and a note, handing them to Shanae. I present to you my genius medicine for slowing the progress of Lycerian fever syndrome. I calculate it's 3 times more effective than the previous tonic. Not hard to manufacture either. I'll give you the recipe. Stop by Sierra's sometime, and she'll help you fill it within 2 to 3 business days.
Wait, Cagliostro? So why did we go all the way to the Pillar of Vayoi?
It wasn't obvious? I needed some stronger base reagents to help synthesize the first batch. My crewmates looked at me with irritation. But when you've lived as long as I have, sometimes you need to spice things up with a few pranks. While we're on the topic, I did a little more research. Experts say that ley lines rebalance themselves after a number of years. Problem is, most people die before it can happen. But with my new prescription, you should be able to make it long enough. No sweat.
Cagliostro, how can we ever repay you? You are everything to this family.
Shanae was so overcome with emotion, she couldn't express her own thanks. I didn't mind her silence, though. Excess sentimentality always spoiled the mood. We had more important topics to discuss anyway. Right, so about payment. The founder of Alchemy developed a new medication specifically for your family. That's gonna cost ya. Heimel swallowed, readying himself for the worst.
I'm a fool. You're absolutely right. We don't have much in the way of money or valuables, but we'll do whatever it takes to...
I think there's been a misunderstanding. You don't get to decide my reward. Are we clear? Shanae and Heimel both nodded in fearful silence. Seeing harmony restored to the studio was a wonderful feeling. I even allowed myself to bask in memories of my sister as a treat.